Hey everybody, Tracy here. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I hope you're having a wonderful day and a lovely week, and I hope you're getting some creative time in. It's hard to find the time sometimes, right? I go through periods of time where it might be 2 or 3 weeks and I haven't gotten into my studio because life gets in the way. So I'm saying that even as a full-time professional artist, that I still have those periods of time where I just get out of the flow and it's hard to get back into it, hard to get the momentum going. Usually it's because I've got something else happening, I've got a big launch, or we're working behind the scenes, or there's lots of advertising stuff going on, so I'm filming scripts and things like that. And I really, really miss it when I don't have the time to paint. Soon, in about 17 days, I am actually going to be heading off overseas with my husband, Marco, and we are going to be traveling for 12 weeks. And during that 12 weeks, I'm going to be teaching in Sicily and in Le Marche, also in Italy, and in Portugal. And we are also having 9 weeks of travel time. So I'm taking sketchbooks and taking my pencil cases, and I'm intending, I was going to say hoping, I'm intending to get lots of sketching done. So in the meantime, what I'm doing over the next coming months is I'm sharing some videos from my Patreon community, which is no longer running. I closed my Patreon community last August because my plate was overflowing. I had too much on my plate and something had to give, and that was the newest thing. And so I decided to let it go and focus more on YouTube, focus more on my alumni group in Facebook, focus more on creating new online classes and all of the other things that go with running a full-time art business. So while I'm away, I'm going to be sharing. I'll be back middle of July. So time is a wibbly wobbly thing, isn't it? It's hard to know what day this is even going to be coming to you. So anyway, I'll be away from April to July, and in that time, during that time, we're going to be sharing the videos from my Patreon community that previously have only been seen exclusively by patrons. And today I'm going to share with you a little butterfly tutorial. It's a fairly simple tutorial. I love butterflies as a symbol of transformation. I love the whole notion that out of great struggle comes great beauty. But with this particular technique, I'm hoping you won't have to struggle too much. So tune in and enjoy the video. I'm working mostly with acrylics on watercolor paper, and I hope you have some fun with it. I would love to see what you do with this little tutorial, and I invite you all over to my Facebook alumni group. I will leave the link to join the group in the description below. If for some reason you don't see it there, please tell me in the comments that I've forgotten it, because I do tend to forget things every now and again. So have a great time with this tutorial. Sending you all out lots of love, and I hope that wherever you are in the world that you're having a great week, and that even if it's not such a great week, that you're able to find some little glimmers of magic in the small moments and some small moments of beauty as well. So ciao for now. I'll see you again next week. Lots of love. Bye. Hey everyone. So this week I posted in our Patreon group that I wanted to do a little butterfly tutorial for you, similar to these little ones that I did some time ago that will be coming up in my online studio sale whenever we get ourselves together to do that. We are working on it. We haven't set an actual date yet because we've got so much going on with the new class as well. And just a few other things with advertising and getting sales pages right. And it's just been a little bit tricky to juggle everything. So the sale will be coming up, hopefully within the next month. But yeah, I just wanted to add in an extra little tutorial for you for this month. And I had a lot of fun doing these little guys. So let's get started. So I asked all of you whether you could suggest some color palettes. Apologies in advance for the rain. It is apparently about to bucket down here. We've had such beautiful weather, and I'm looking at the radar and it looks absolutely crazy. So I'm going to do this tutorial with a voiceover, but I'll probably try not to talk too much. And if it gets crazy rainy and you can't hear me, then I'll just let you listen to the sound of the rain while I'm painting, and then I can just, add some little notes into my post when I post the video. So a few of you suggested different color palettes, and I might have to try them all at some point, but Annette suggested orange, pink, magenta, and brown. Now, it sounds like a beautiful combination, and it's quite a limited combo for me. I usually have to add in a touch of aqua or turquoise, and I'm going to try not to do that. I'm going to try to stick with the colors that Annette has suggested as an exercise for myself. But I've given myself a few different options within those colors, within that color palette. So what I have in front of me is, of course, my never leave home without Daler Rowney Flame Orange acrylic ink. Also in the Daler Rowney range, I have antelope brown, burnt umber, and white. Now, of course, that's not in the color palette suggested, but I'd never go without having white because I can make lots of different variations of these colors by adding white in. Then I have the ochre in the Holbein acrylic gouache, and I have deep magenta, also in the same brand. And then I have golden fluid, quinacridone nickel azo gold, not technically in the color palette, but it's heading towards brown, right? And so I just wanted to have something that would give me a tiny hint towards yellow, but hopefully it will still kind of play with the other paints and still feel very harmonious. And then I have raw umber also in the golden fluid. I have several colored pencils. I have luminance in scarlet. I have Holbein in orange. I have a watercolor, a generic watercolor pink, a Derwent watercolor Crimson Lake, and a luminance in Castle Earth, and a white gel pen, just in case. I often tend to have little embellishments towards the end with white gel pen. So as this rain has set in, it's been actually quite warm here, even though we're in autumn. And as the rain set in, it's 5 o'clock in the evening or afternoon, Friday afternoon. I just, when you overreact, and I'm like, oh, I need to put some warm clothes on. So I've gone and put on a sweater, a yellow sweater, and I've put on, I'm not going to show you these because I had to put my legs up on the table, but I've put on my furry slippers. And now I'm suddenly sitting down and having a big hot flash. So you can't see my face, but I'm just kicking off my slippers right now, and I'm going to get started with this. So where to start? I feel like I might start today. I might be a little more free with this little exercise than these ones. These ones are a little tight compared to how I normally work. So I'm just going to play with what I love to do, which is pulling in some shapes and then dropping the ink into the shape. My brushes have been sitting in the water for a couple of days, and it's clean water, but they get a bit icky, and it's very naughty of me. That's not something that I'm teaching you to do. Try to remember to take your brushes out. I tend to be in and out of my studio all the time, and I sometimes think I'm coming back in, and then I get caught up in something else and I never get back. So it's been a couple of days since I've been out here. So you won't be able to see what I'm doing, but what I'm doing is just doing the shape of rough shape of butterfly body in water. And you've seen me do this lots of times with other things. And then I'm going to take the burnt umber, which is the darkest ink that I have, and I'm going to just drop it into, take most of the ink off and touch it to the little butterfly body. And then I'm going to take my bamboo skewer. Where are you, little bamboo skewer? Here you are. And I'm going to drag out some little antennas right off the bat. Okay. All right. That's a nice little start. Now what I might do is just bring out the shape, the beginning of the shape of the top wings. If you want to have a reference photo nearby, you can. I tend to just wing it because I don't mind if they look a little bit wonky. If you know my work by now, you know that I actually like a little bit of wonkiness. And then maybe I'll just add in a few little dots, mostly because there's quite a bit of ink on here. And so I always like to use what's there and kind of move it around. So let's do a repeat pattern over on this side. Just pulling up a little bit of the ink with the bamboo skewer and bringing it over here. All right, so then these will probably go somewhere out here. And then somewhere down towards this direction. I guess this is a start anyway. Okay. What I'm going to do now is take a small round brush, so number 2, and I'm just going to add in a little bit more water, and I'm allowing that brown to mix with the water a little bit. Doing a couple of different little designs, and let's start off with some orange. You can either leave the orange in little dots that way, or we can just move it around a little bit. I'm going to come over to the other side and do the same thing. Doesn't matter if it's not exactly the same, because as I said, we're trying to make things a little bit wonky. And if you do want to even things up, for example, if this feels wider, you could just bring this out a little bit further. So you've got room to kind of change and move things around. We can also do layers over the top. So this doesn't have to be the only layer, but it could be. You can make those decisions along the way. Okay. Now, let's play around with some ochre. And I just realized I do need a little palette because I'm going to be using some of these acrylic gouache. So let's bring this little palette here. The ochre is very, very, it's a lot. it's very intense and it's a lot. The orange is also very intense and it's a lot. So I don't want them to be fighting with each other. So I'm going to add a little white into this, just some white acrylic ink. And I also love what happens when you mix the ochre with the orange with the white and you come up with a beautiful coral color. So I think a little bit of that's going to happen as well. So even though technically coral is not on the palette, if I can mix two of the colors together, then I feel like it's a win. I feel like I'm allowed to do that. I'm going to leave a little bit of white space here. I don't want the brown to come out from the body of the butterfly, like it just has there. And if it does come out, then we're just going to let it be. And I'll try and do the same little happy accident on the other side. And in fact, I like it, so I'm going to repeat it. So sometimes you think you don't want something, but then you're like, oh, I actually like what just happened there. Let's do it again. So embracing the happy accidents. You will not be able to get it to do the same thing on both sides. So don't even try. Just be happy with what it does. Okay, I'm going to mix this around up here a little bit and see if I can get a little bit of that coral going. Yeah, look at that beautiful color. And that's lovely just to keep it a little bit rough like that. Nice, nice, nice. Let's try on this side. I love what happens when you get all these little swirls of the ink, all the little bits and pieces mixing together. A little bit more brightness here. I feel like I like the little bit of white that's happening. So I'm going to leave that. So these little glimpses of white through here. And then what I'm going to do next is maybe while I have that, here comes the rain. Look how beautiful that is. Woo. All right, let's bring in some antelope brown.
Some nickel azo gold. And some raw umber. If you put too much water on, you can lift quite easily. Right, I like where it's heading, but I want to do some overlayers. So let's just play with this first. Let the brush do the work for you. Sometimes just to create the leaf shapes, just kind of laying it down with the right amount of paint on it. I want to play with this brown here, rather than being such a strong line. I want to play with just pulling it in a little bit. Oh, we haven't got any magenta in there yet. So, whoops, let's add in some magenta. This is a deep magenta. So let's see where that might work. Oh, it's almost a purple. Almost. I'm feeling a resistance to adding in magenta. It's very strange. But this is my challenge, right? Quite different on both sides. I'm going to add a little bit of white to this magenta. Still very, very purple. Adding a dab here, adding a dab here. And just let it settle and become a part of the painting. Okay. What I want to do now is just play around with a little bit of white in a few places. Just to bring a bit more contrast back into the painting. So just dropping that white in. Grabbing your clean brush and just playing around, moving it here and there, allowing it to kind of mix and mingle and create its own little patterns. Just letting everything happen very organically. Moving wet paint from one area to another to add in some more texture and pattern. The ink will behave differently in dry areas, in wet areas, and in semi-dry areas as well. If you do something that you're not particularly fond of, let it dry and then throw some more ink over the top of it. For example, this here, if I started to move it around now, it's just going to get rid of that lovely pink color and it'll just get muddy. Whereas if I wait for it, or do something else, maybe just even break it up a little bit. And then if I still don't like it, I can just wait for it to dry and come in and bring the pink back over the top. But I kind of am liking that now. Now I can't do the same over here because there's far too much water on that side. But what I could do is I could lift a little bit of what's happening here. And I could do something similar. Or I could come back over here and just lightly skim the pink back over the top. Not pushing too hard because it's wet underneath. And then even with that magenta, supposed to be magenta, which is really purple, I could break that up with some little pops of the pink as well. See how it doesn't stick out so much once it's actually kind of integrated by bringing some of the other colors over it. Much better. A little bit of accidental splatter, which then becomes intentional. And there's not so much of the pink down here, so I'm going to add some in. I'm liking that. It's really nice. Now, the butterfly feels quite striking. So I'm going to pull it in a background that feels a little calmer. So what I'm going to do is mostly white with a touch of the orange and a touch of the ochre. So I'll get a really, really light coral. And then pretty, pretty, pretty. I'm going to bring it into the surrounding area of the butterfly, but leave some little glimpses of white in between the plants and the butterfly itself. That's a gorgeous color. If I feel like I need to, I'll come in with a smaller brush, but I do try to keep, not all the time, but a lot of the time, if I'm looking for a looseness in the work, I do try to stay with a brush that's slightly bigger than what I need. And then, when I do that, I don't get so caught up in like finicky details. See how I'm just kind of going in to those little white areas, but leaving. Let me pull you in a little bit. It's probably hard to see. Leaving a little white edge. Between the background, the flowers, and the butterfly. Whoops, forgot to pull you back out again. Here we go. Okay, so you get the hang of it. The color is changing a little bit as I move around because some of the orange is coming into the white, but I don't mind that variation. I'm gonna add a little bit more white to the palette. So as you can see, I've got the white here, the ochre next to it, and the orange on the other side. So I'm just getting an approximate mix. And as I said, it will be slightly different in different areas because of the way that the ink is kind of mixing and mingling with the white. The other thing I could have done would have been to have a very deep background, like the actual burnt umber, and that would have been a whole different feel. years ago when I went to my very first art class, my art teacher, whose name was Cher Lepage, isn't that a fabulous name for an artist? Cher Lepage. I remember her telling me, this little trick of leaving the little glimmers of white in between the different elements of your painting to add extra energy and life to the work. And it stuck with me all of those years. It's funny the tidbits that we pick up that become very important to us. And at the time, I didn't really understand what she was talking about. It just felt like, oh, well, how can I, how can I make something that looks real if I'm leaving these little white bits? Because when I first started, that was all that mattered to me, was making something that looked real. As if I thought that that was like the mark of, being a successful or a good artist, was to be able to make things that looked like they looked in real life. And boy, have I changed. Have I changed my tune? All right, we're almost there. I hope you guys, I was going to say I hope you're going to have a lovely weekend, but we won't get this until next week. So I hope that you're having a lovely day, wherever you are when you see this. And that you give this little exercise a go and see how you go with it. Now, at this stage, usually what I would do would be also to add in just a little bit of light on dark in a few areas. So, for example, bringing a little bit of this background color and adding some patterning into the flowers. I haven't played with pencil at all in this one, and I don't really know if I want to. I think it's pretty cool the way it is. Yeah, I think I'm liking it just as it is. So, if you wanted to play with pencil, you could let it dry. You could come in. You could, for example, this is fairly dry. Okay, just to show you. You could bring a little bit of pencil work in. If you bring pencil work in, make sure you put it in a few different places so that it's not just in one place, because then it will look odd and your face will just go, your eyes will go straight to the pencil in one place that isn't anywhere else. And of course, one more little thing that I forgot is that the reason I put the masking tape on is so that when you take it off, you have a lovely little border, which also makes it easier for people to frame when they purchase your art. I sell most of my work unframed because I'm in Australia and the shipping is horrendous. The only way I can really afford to do shipping is to ship them unframed on a backing board and in cellophane, but ready for the purchaser to frame themselves. So this little masking tape border just gives them a little room when they take it to the framers for the mat to go around the painting without encroaching on the actual painting itself. Okay. Go forth and create your little butterflies. And I'll see you very soon in the group. Okay, bye for now.